You're fine.
Welcome to the Browns Table. I'm your host, Craig Fountain, here with your co-host, Jared Bates. We call him Fatty. You're more than welcome to call him Fatty, too.
Yes.
How
I
you
am
doing,
that
Fatty?
fat guy. What's going on, bud?
Oh, man. We're having a blast here. We just got done, you got done doing the illegal ham to the face.
Yes, I did.
Live at Mike's Bar in Berea.
Yes, Mike's Bar and Grill here in beautiful Berea, Ohio, home of the Cleveland Browns.
And we are also live here at Mike's Bar and Grill here in Berea.
And by the way, the food is phenomenal and on point.
I had the bacon cheeseburger. What'd you have?
I had the buffalo chicken egg rolls. We had a bologna sandwich. We had pierogies. We had, let's put it this way, the ham boys ate out. It was delicious. And we have a special guest today.
We do.
And we have
do.
two. One's coming on with us here a little bit later. But our first special guest, can I say it?
Absolutely.
All right. We have Kevan Arnold from the Voice of Land podcast and also part of Big Play Sports. Kevan, welcome to the Browns Table, bud.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
You're double showing it tonight.
I am.
All right.
I can talk sports all day, so it's no big deal to me.
Thank you for coming out. You've had the food here. So how's the food? How are the wings?
The wings were good. That bourbon barbecue sauce on there was good, and those tater tots on point.
Yeah, they were
on point.
I'm sitting there looking at your food. I'm eating my food, going, "Oh, I should have some of his too." It's not going to happen.
I don't share food. That's a rule of mine. I don't share.
Well,
food.
you're skinny. You got to fight for it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
See?
That's true. Yeah, just keep bringing it up. No.
I'm a big guy. I hibernate. I just store it for 6 months and see what happens.
I'm not skinny and I don't share food.
Yeah, it's not relative to just skinny people. You just don't touch my plate.
All right, so not touching plates. So, Craig, what are we getting into today?
Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about. You know, when we first started doing this in the off season, we started going every other week.
Yes.
We were a little worried. We didn't want to beat any dead horses. You know, we didn't know how interested everybody would be in the off season. But the amount of stuff that's happening is insane. There's so much interesting stuff that's going on. Let's start with Hugh Jackson. You don't want to talk about Hugh Jackson.
I really don't. It's in the past. It's over. He's just wanting to come back and just drum up old stuff that I don't want to deal with. I can't.
He's writing a book.
Yeah, I know.
And it's centered around his time in Cleveland. And he's got some interesting things to say.
Boy, I understand he's gonna have his book, but the fact that it's being publicized so much right now, we're good. We don't need to harken back to we don't need a reminder of how bad things were. We know what bad looks like. So if we ever see bad again, or when and if we see bad again, we'll know exactly what it looks like because we've had this before, and we have all of the transcripts, all of the video to show those that may not know what that looks like to know what it looks like. We don't need Hugh Jackson to tell us anymore.
Now, I'm interested, though, because, you know, one of the things that he started talking about was that he got a contract extension in the midst of the, the 0-16 season, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the 1-15 season?
I think it was, he said that they were 1-23 at that point.
Okay.
That he got the contract extension behind the scenes.
Number one,
I wish we had a camera on Bri and Jay right now. Bri's bowing out, and Jay's just going, nope, just shaking his head.
we have Bri from Illegal Ham to the Face here with us. He's in the background. We have Always Positive Jay with us. Hopefully making an appearance here later. Yeah.
The fiance is here tonight.
Gianna.
Yeah, she's about to go take a nap in the car before we go home. It's her nap time.
And we have our producer, Vinny, from Illegal Ham, who has stuck around to help us out for the Browns Table and getting us lighting and the space and everything we need. So
we're live, but if we're talking, if you feel like we're talking behind the screen, there are people here. We have an audience, and we are talking to them. We can talk to you, by the way. Leave a comment, and we can see that. We can display it and respond to it. If you want to join the show, click the link in the comments. You can actually join the Browns table. You can video chat or audio chat with us, ask us a question, make a comment. For example, here we have Chris Spann. Why did he take so long to say it? I'll tell you why. Money. Did his paychecks run out? Is that what's going on?
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I think his paychecks ran out.
So shame on the Haslams, as I was saying, for extending him. You know, they've made plenty of great decisions since, but, you know, he's penning this book, a tell-all about his time with the Browns. Do you think he'll tell us why he wouldn't play Nick Chubb or maybe Baker Mayfield?
I doubt it.
Why didn't he work with Baker Mayfield? He said that he was barely around Baker Mayfield, number one pick. Like,
right?
You know, unfortunately, you were hoping that Tyrod Taylor was going to be the guy that year, so he wouldn't have to go in. If you knew anything about Cleveland and Browns history, you knew the rookie was going to be at some point. You better have him ready. You better be talking with your number one pick.
Or, as great Cleveland Browns from 99 on, the backup is the best quarterback we have. Because no matter what happens, it's always the backup. Bring in the backup.
It's been true one time, and that was Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And that was Baker Mayfield.
Wasn't it Kelly Holcomb and
okay,
DA?
you know what?
Kelly Holcomb,
yeah. We didn't get the win, but that was a phenomenal, phenomenal performance by Kelly Holcomb. Man. All right, so I think that's enough with Hugh Jackson. There's my lovely wife, Nicole. This is awesome. She's tuning in. Hardcore says, if you could pick one former Browns coach to write a book other than Hugh, who would it be? That is an outstanding question.
Chudzinski.
Chudzinski?
Yeah, because he only got 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
brought in and gone before you even got to know him.
That's fair, Fatty.
I got to go with Pat Shurmur. I want to know what Pat Shurmur was thinking the entire season.
Actually,
Brian's shaking his head. He's out.
Back to Kevin. Chudzinski's been with the team multiple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so that would be interesting.
A few different perspectives there.
You know, I would have to go with, you know, All Eyes on Cleveland here. This is Brad Ward. Outstanding podcast. Make sure you tune in. Check out All Eyes on Cleveland. He says Marty.
Yeah.
I'm thinking post 99 in my head. I'm going to have to go with Butch Davis.
You want to go with Butch?
Okay.
All right.
I got to go with Butch. You know, he took us to the playoffs. He left, and he just, like, disappeared off the face of the earth. He did some college ball for a few years. And
oh, he's still doing college ball. Isn't he at FIU?
I think so, yeah.
If he is, he's so far under the radar.
yeah,
I'm not even paying attention.
He's just right here.
Right.
Well, if you look at the GM perspective, though, too, writing a book,
Yeah.
or president, wonder what Holmgren was doing. Like, that's what you really want to know. Everybody made the jokes about he'd clock in at 10 and leave 2 hours later, but
it's true.
Collecting a check and rocking those Tommy Bahamas.
RIP, yes, absolutely, Marty. Rest in peace, one of the greats.
Yes.
I would have to go with Butch Davis. Jay, always positive. Jay, who are you thinking? What's that?
Greg Williams.
Greg Williams. Oh, that's
good.
good. All right, here's my question. If Freddie Kitchens wrote a book, would you read it?
Honestly, I think I would. The only reason why is because Freddie Kitchens is like a down-home boy, and I just want to see what he has to say because he looks like the kind of guy going, I had my choice at Denny's breakfast, and I took biscuits and gravy instead of the Grand Slam, and I don't know. It's Freddie Kitchens. He just seems he's one of those likable coaches. That's why he got hired, right?
You know, the Pittsburgh Started It t-shirt, some other things like that. He's like everything I wish a coach could be, but still be a good coach. He just did not work out at all. Bri, who's your coach? Bob Wiley. There you go. Bob Wiley. Justin Master said I'd be interested in Belichick's perspective when he was there. Absolutely. That would certainly,
especially with the foot out the door. I mean, especially with everything that went on that year with the team. I would just love to, because he had, I mean, if you think about it, when he was with the Browns, Saban was here with him. Yeah. Like the amount of coaches that he had here with him were unreal to see where they're at now. Like I would love to see what he had to say about the Browns in that year, because that year was just messed up to begin with.
Hardcore wants to see Pettin and write about JG and Manziel. Hardcore, I appreciate the question you asked. That was one of the better questions we've gotten since we've done the show. That was a great question. Yeah. So thank you, Hardcore. We appreciate that. But we do have other things to move on to. We wanted to touch on Hugh Jackson. Well, I wanted to.
Yeah,
I don't know that anybody else did.
I didn't.
But
Who?
the big story so far this offseason is the Browns defense is starting to take shape. We have an unprecedented amount of continuity with the coaching staff and the offensive side of the ball. But the defense is where we lacked last year. It's starting to take shape. So since our last show, we've added Troy Hill and Malik Jackson.
Yes, we
Some
did.
pretty big ads along with Anthony Walker. Initial thoughts on Troy Hill and or Malik Jackson. What do you think, Fatty?
Troy Hill I like because it gives us another corner. You can't have enough corners, right? I mean, you got to have corners. The other one, Malik Jackson, there in the center along with Sheldon Richardson, gives you a little more depth plus a veteran experience on that defensive line that I think they need. But I still think the Tack McKinley signing and the Anthony Walker on the linebacker side, I think that might just shape this defense because of what they can actually, the upside of them. You know, Walker with his veteran leadership, but also his knowledge, and McKinley with just his talent alone. His talent alone it's an upside. You're just taking, hey, here's a few $1 million. Come here and play and see what you do this year. And he's excited to play. He's never been healthy too. So, I mean, I love what they've done. The back end is where I like it the most because guess what? That shores up the back end of that defense, especially with the two signings with Hill and Johnson III. And then it gets, the front seven a little bit more depth, but also opens up those wonderful draft choices that we have for the draft coming up. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it opens up the draft choices and it allows you to go best player available. And I know Browns fans are already talking about, they want J.C. Horn, the corner out of South Carolina. They want these guys that are having these outstanding pro days. But we're kind of in unfortunate circumstances for those people, but fortunate circumstances in reality that we don't necessarily have to worry about like the guys at the top of the draft. Some of these guys are going to go a lot higher up than Browns fans realize. We're not going to have that pick, but you're going to get value and you're going to get best player available on defense. In terms of these corners, I mean, the Troy Hill signing to me was, okay, you're getting a guy that's already has that chemistry in the back end with Johnson III, and he's from this area. He's from Youngstown, but also it's maybe something of how they think Greedy may come back because Greedy intends to come back, but
we don't know.
Hasn't been able to be on the field. So you can add another corner like Troy Hill and go nickel packages, and you can do your 5 defensive backs, that 4-2-5 defense.
Yeah.
But Troy Hill being a little bit more durable out there too, like then you have that depth. The Browns need leadership and they need depth, and they've started addressing a lot of that this offseason.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And like Brad's saying here, John Johnson III is a home run. I agree. And he brings leadership. And one of the things that caught my attention is I don't know who was talking about it. It might have been Nathan Zagura. That he is a lot like Jarvis Landry from a leadership perspective, just more polished.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. Like that's a huge compliment.
Well, and he's still only, 26?
Yeah.
Like, he's still young. Like, it's not like – and he took a pay cut to come here. Who does that?
He was a captain. He was a captain, right? On the number one defense in the NFL and the number one pass defense in the NFL.
And the signal caller on the field.
Yeah.
Like he's the one wearing that green dot in the helmet because he's getting the calls in his helmet and he's making them on the field. Like that speaks volumes about a guy to be that young and to be trusted in an NFL locker room.
Yeah.
To be that kind of a leader and have that football acumen, that football IQ to take on that role.
But that's what they did with Walker, though, too, in the linebacker room. They added that, even though they brought back God, why am I having a brain fart?
Malcolm Smith.
Yeah. Malcolm Smith, even though they brought him. But still, you're having that veteran. Like, they gave him glowing remarks in Indy when he was walking out the door. He was in charge. They said he would actually show up on Monday. Nobody else would be there. He would take notes and hand to people. And it's like,
that's huge.
What's going on? Like, it's for team. It's not for him. Right. It's for team.
Darius Leonard didn't need to go on Twitter and make those videos about Anthony Walker at all. Like, he felt compelled to talk about a guy that he had such a strong relationship with beyond on the field chemistry. It was what was being done behind the scenes in that locker room and what Anthony Walker meant to all those guys, that a guy like Darius Leonard that you look to as one of those top defenders. And when Indianapolis was number one defense coming in to town. We faced them this year.
Yeah.
You know, Darius Leonard is one of those guys you got a game plan for.
Yeah.
This guy is talking about someone that, you know, is kind of a lower end free agent signing, someone that you're not going to think about, not going to pique your eyes or get the eyes flowing when you look at those stat sheets. But it's a guy that does all the little things that go such a long way. There's more than the stat book, as much as the numbers mean a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Guys
you know,
like that.
adding Johnson to Troy Hill, that's 2/5 of the best defense in the NFL at the starting or passing defense.
Yes.
They were number one overall, number one at passing defense. 2/5 of the starting defense. Malik Jackson, same as kind of Tack McKinley, low risk, high reward.
Yes.
Not real expensive. I would imagine they still want to go end at some point. They need to look for some depth there. But let me circle back. Kevin, you brought up Anthony Walker, and here's a big question. He's got some strengths and weaknesses. He's flashed some skills as far as coverage goes at the linebacker position. He's also kind of, done some things that you have to worry about.
You're right.
Is he an upgrade over B.J. Goodson? Because ideally that is his role, is he is taking B.J. Goodson's spot, assuming at some point we don't bring B.J. Goodson back. I'm curious as far as what you have to say about that.
That's a good question, because B.J. Goodson was really the only linebacker that we had. I mean, we had a linebacker get 0 tackles in a terrific, one of the best NFL games of the season in that Baltimore Ravens game.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that right now.
Well,
it never happened.
Okay.
What Baltimore Ravens game?
Yeah, right. All right. Well, I guess I was just sitting up in the top of First Energy Stadium in the cold for no reason.
You were up there. You were there to watch the Dejo. Just to be honest, you're there to watch the Dejo.
Number 23. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's what I don't talk about. I don't talk about 23. But I guess Walker, he's going to have to be at least as good as B.J. Goodson, because the linebacking core still leaves a little bit to be desired. But if they can find a way to play as a collective unit this year, you may not need a guy like how B.J. Goodson had to step up and be that guy in that locker room. If Walker can be the leader that Darius Leonard and all these guys say he can be, maybe get more out of the guys that are in that room. So now it actually looks like a linebacking core and not just, a sieve of a defense where the middle is open and you're hoping B.J. Goodson's going to go make that play.
Just another guy. That's what you don't want. Just another guy.
Yeah. I think Walker is more than just another guy.
I think so too.
But I don't know, for the role and how good B.J. Goodson played for us last year, I don't know that he'll look as good as B.J. Goodson, but he'll matter in a different way, if that makes sense. He'll matter in a different way in that locker room.
Bring up what Brad said.
Yes, I was actually just about to ask Brad. Brad's our X's and O's chime in guy.
He is.
I love Brad Ward. Brad's an awesome guy.
Follow him on
He has
Twitter.
an awesome show. He's been a guest of the show. He's incredible. He says, I think they hope Walker rubs off on Phillips. If that would be an outstanding scenario.
Yeah.
But that's the right veteran that you want with the remarks that they brought out of Indy. That's the guy that you want to be the mentor of your young linebacking core. And I'm not saying BJ's not, but I'm just saying, from what everybody said about him, that's what he does. And I think it'll work out wonders for especially the young kids on this team.
Yeah, and Phillips started to flash towards the end of last year, and that's just think about this. That's without that kind of leader in the locker room. B.J. Goodson was a leader by example, but I don't know how vocal he was. We don't know because we weren't told. But I think Walker can be that guy for Phillips and still have that play as an example, or be that example on the field too. I think he can have elements of that, just not as much as BJ.
Let me ask you guys this. I mean, we're talking with the assumption, I think everybody is, that BJ Goodson's not here next year, but he hasn't found a home yet. Is there still a chance BJ Goodson comes back to the Browns?
If he's willing to take Hollywood Higgins type treatment and money.
Yeah.
Hollywood Higgins should be paid a lot more than he is, but he loves it here and he is willing to take those pay cuts, or less than what he probably is valued or could get on the open market if he held out a little bit longer. but he loves it here. If BJ Goodson's willing to go that route, there's a chance. Outside of that, I don't see him spending much more.
I mean, we can only assume the market's soft, considering that he hasn't found a home because he's been pretty good. With always positive, Jay.
Come on, Jay. Come over here. You're going to take my spot for a second.
He's aggressively shaking his head no. BJ Goodson's not going to come back. What do you think?
No, I don't think he's coming back. I think they're drafting a guy. I think they picked up this guy for the guy they're going to draft.
All right, so this is so there's not a spot for him, or we don't want him, or what's your reasoning? I'm not arguing with you. I'm just curious.
I think he was just a fill-in guy for the year. I honestly just don't see him in the long-term plans. They're going to go younger. They're going to get a guy that they can groom with gains. If not, they're going to see if Wilson or Taki can step up.
Considering his production, though, with the lack of depth at that position, would it be unreasonable for them to bring him back, even if they had to overpay him a little bit?
It wouldn't be unreasonable by any means.
Okay.
I just don't think they will. I mean, they can. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world by any means.
Are there any other, in your mind, options out there available, whether it be free agency? Do you think this gets addressed I guess that's more of a free agency question. Or is that something that we're planning on drafting? Like, I feel like we don't have a whole lot of depth there. I'm nervous about our linebacker depth.
I mean, you got Mac Wilson, you have Taki,
Jacob Phillips,
now
Anthony Walker.
They're probably going to draft a guy or two. I mean, they only run two linebackers. They don't run a whole lot of linebackers. You'll see more DBs and defensive linemen on the depth chart than you're going to see linebackers that you normally would have seen in the past when 3-4 and 4-3 defenses.
Brad here says the front office doesn't value that position. I think that's evident. I think that's hard to argue with. And, I don't know if they're thinking about the way they're going to play their safeties. I don't think their ends, assuming we get more depth at the edge position, the linebacker position between the safeties and the edges is so flexible. Maybe you don't need that depth. It just makes me nervous. I guess we won't know until we see it.
See, I don't know if they devalue the linebacker position because we've only seen one draft by these guys, really. Mm-hmm. And they had to fill so many holes last year that they just maybe didn't get to it. But they definitely don't need a whole lot of them. That's the thing. I'm a strong believer. You really need a strong, fast linebacker that's just going to make impact play. You watch Tampa Bay with Devin White just all over the field, and we have Lamar Jackson in our division. You need a linebacker that dude's going to look for, and he could just be scared, like, oh, man, this guy's out here. I got to watch out for him at all times. Yeah, I've never seen a great defense in the NFL without a phenomenal linebacker on that team. All the greats had a good linebacker.
Absolutely. Every great defense has always had a linebacker that anchored that defense essentially.
And that's, I guess, the room for BJ Goodson, whether he can come back or not, is dependent on how often Joe Woods wants to run that 4-2-5 with those five defensive backs back there. If they want to run that almost every single time, then they're going to keep the depth that they have or have limited as it looks with a traditional NFL team. If he wants to run it in spots, you're going to need more depth there, and they need to figure that out. And a guy like BJ Goodson is just another guy that has done already so much for you, knows the system, and can add impactful depth. It's not just about adding depth to this team and where they want to go. These expectations have risen after this season. So if you want to get to the mountaintop, you're going to need depth in that 53-man roster, but guys that when they come in, if called upon due to injury or in rotation, are going to make an impact as limited or as much as they're on the field. They have to make an impact, and you need guys like that across the board or as much as you can in that 53.
I mean, we're talking a lot about the assumption that the Browns want Goodson back. It's a matter of what price.
Yeah.
But do we want him back? I mean, if he was willing to play for a vet minimum, do you think they bring him back? Or maybe there's something that they don't like? I mean, there's obviously not some sort of bidding war out there for BJ Goodson, or he would have signed at this point.
I mean, they may be allowing him to look elsewhere. They may still value him. And if he's willing to take that vet minimum, you can see them offering that. But
this could be a wait and see scenario, maybe a training camp type signing or post draft or something like that.
Right. And I mean, he meant a lot to this team, but I think their sights are set bigger. Not that they discredit or devalue Goodson. I think it's just unfortunate, circumstance for him that they're trying to get more impact and more guys for Joe Woods, maybe what he's looking for. And BJ Goodson may just not be in that category right now, but if the opportunity presents itself, I don't think it's not that they don't want him back. It's just they're like, see what you can find, and we'll talk again if you're still available here in like a couple weeks or couple months, and see if we can still come to terms.
So, Hardcore Jay here with another great question. What do you think about signing another cornerback before the draft? B Fanjoy, longtime viewer of the show, Sherman at the right price. There was a lot of rumors about that, before free agency really took off. Justin Masters said with the move to a 17-game season, they need to consider who and what position is most likely to get injured. There's something that I feel like we've personally experienced in that there's two different positions or areas where we need depth at. It always seems to bite us. Cornerback and offensive line.
Yeah.
Cornerback, it's kind of an unwritten rule. You can never have too many. Offensive line, our swing guy, Kendall Lamb, the guy that could pretty much plug and play regardless of where we needed him to play. Good for him. He took a better opportunity. He's probably going to get the chance to start in Tennessee. He's not going to be swinging around as a backup here in Cleveland. As much as it would have been nice to have him back,
We have Drew Forrest come back this year now, right? He was off for COVID, Project X or whatever it was.
Yeah, he was, the COVID opt-out or whatever they called it.
Right.
Yeah. And we have, Blake Hance, the unsung last
Blake
hero.
There.
We signed George Sennett, right?
Mm-hmm.
George Sennett. There's some guys that we signed, but that intrigues me as maybe a late round draft type deal, or seeing who doesn't make the cut with some of these other teams in the preseason or in training camp. We need depth there, but cornerback, so invaluable.
I'm drawing a blank. Who's the free agent corner from San Diego? Hayward.
You mean the Chargers?
Yeah, Chargers.
Isn't it Hayward? Isn't it Casey Hayward?
Yeah.
Is he still available?
Yeah, I believe so.
I have not heard him go anywhere yet, but
there's so many corners out there, man. You've
been a lot going on last week. So
Sherman's a guy that he's got it. It's one of those things where he was a 4.0 Stanford guy, smart football player, physical football player. Came back. He's not as strong as before he had gotten hurt, but he's still an excellent football player. He's aging a little bit, but he could potentially be a good mentor in the locker room from our perspective. But it makes you kind of wonder why a guy as smart as like Shanahan in that San Francisco front office might not want him back, which it doesn't seem like they do. So what's the catch? What's the red flag? So
unless they have plans to go younger and, Browns are more adept at maybe taking on a guy that has one or two like really good years left to really solidify the culture that they've started to build this past season, and a guy that knows Joe Woods very well and that system very well can really lead these guys. We talked about John Johnson III could be the Jarvis Landry of the defense, just doing it longer and doing it on the field. Well, Richard Sherman could be another one of those. That's why a lot of people, or at least I was intrigued by J.J. Watt initially, was when you give up 3rd and 14 to Chad Henne and almost able to pick it up within inches of being able to pick that up. You have them in a 3rd and 14 situation. Myles Garrett gets that sack on 2nd down. He's leading by example, and he does have some vocal leadership. He's still building that. But some veteran that's been in the league a lot longer in that scenario where they're all celebrating after that sack, getting them refocused and saying, look, you want Baker and this offense back on the field. You think we can beat this team? Get your you-know-what's back in this huddle, and let's go make a play because we still got to get 3rd and 14. You know how smart Andy Reid is. We talked about it all week. We've seen it on film. They didn't have that, and that's one of the things they needed to build this offseason. John Johnson III could be a young voice of that. If they bring in Sherman, there's a guy that's not going to let those little things go unchecked, those little boxes go unchecked by a team trying to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
That play you brought up is exactly why I think they're going linebacker, man. The game is speed now, man. And you let Chad Henne run 15 yards to get a first down. Are you kidding me? They had nightmares from the offseason all year from that play. And they've addressed every position on defense. They did the linebacker too, but they need a second one, I believe.
Well, and in a 3rd and long scenario too, defense is going to play back a little bit. So if anything, trying to keep everything in front of you. So if someone tries to take off, they're going to scamper maybe for 5 or 6 yards, but you should be rallying to the football and closing that down. Somehow they didn't even start closing it down until he was a yard away. And fortunately for them, he slid down as they were tackling him and, had a few inches. Andy Reid's too smart to not pick up 4th and inches. You made that decision for him. You didn't make it difficult.
This is a copycat league. Every time,
absolutely.
Every time Mahomes tried to run for it in that Super Bowl, Devin White was all over him, man. He was like a bat out of hell out in that linebacker spot. Super fast linebackers, man, for the future.
So, Brad, you read our minds. You're saying, you think we're serious about trying to sign Clowney. And really, that's where we were going to go next. Jadeveon Clowney visited the Browns, just like he did last year. There was an infatuation, presumably mutual. They just couldn't come to an agreement. They're back at it again, and it may or may not happen. Would Jadeveon Clowney be a good signing? What do you guys think?
Yes, for the right price, he would be. And it's going to give you depth because we don't know exactly what Tack is going to be. But if he's good, whatever, we'll take 2 defensive ends. Plus, you can move him inside and play him right next to Myles Garrett. Good luck double teaming and triple teaming Myles Garrett when you got that guy next to him. Or vice versa, you put him on the outside and you bring Myles on the inside then.
So would it be fair to say that if we signed Jadeveon Clowney, we could expect Tack to play 8 games and Jadeveon to play 8 games?
I think it'd just be rotating a lot, to be honest.
I mean, is that why it's at the right price, or is there some other reason? Tack is young, high upside. Well, Jadeveon Clowney is very talented, but injury.
Yeah. Came off an injury year. Yeah. If you took a 1-year deal and it gave us on a good price, be like, hey, next year the cap's going up, play next to Myles Garrett, get your numbers back up there, and strike next year for a bigger contract. But right now, we can't give you that monster contract you're probably looking for.
It's funny. Both these guys were the talk of the league last year when they were available. Jadeveon Clowney first, going to sign the richest contract in NFL history. Same with the year before or whatever. Tack McKinley, who's going to win the lottery? It turns out he goes through waivers twice, gets claimed, fails physicals, and then ends up in Oakland and gets put on IR. Or Las Vegas or whatever, but both these guys could be on the Browns. They could be splitting time. So let me ask you this: for the right price, right? Always positive, Jay. For the right price.
For the right price, honestly, when I hear Jadeveon Clowney's name come up, the image that pops in my head is that tackle in the Gator Bowl or whatever when he was at South Carolina on the running back from that team up north. But that's what I think of because he just hasn't been available. We say it on Voice Line all the time. Your best ability is your availability. He hasn't always been available. When he has been close to, if not what people wanted him to be. He just can't get in a consistent rhythm because he's not available. And that's unfortunate because you don't want to see guys get hurt. So it's got to be at the right price. So I'm sure, and I heard many people say this that day, probably a conversation the Browns brought him in this year. They didn't get a chance to talk to him last year. This is what we can offer you. If you find a better one, more power to you. If not, we're here. And come talk to us.
Piggyback off your point, him not being available and being hurt a lot, that's for sure. But I think signing Tack McKinley and getting a good deal, that made it so if you do sign him, you're not leaning on Jadeveon Clowney. He's not your be-all defensive lineman.
Right.
Like, he gets hurt, it's like, oh, man, that sucks, but we just took a flyer on him anyway.
Right.
We have our starter in Tack.
Why did Joe Hayden do so well when he went to the Steelers? Because he didn't have to be the number one guy. They had a culture. They had a system there in Pittsburgh. He gave us his all each time he went out there on the field, and then he wasn't available because he played like a bat out of hell and, would put himself in scenarios. He gave us all and then some. He's able to stay healthy with the Steelers because he can just go be Joe Hayden, and he doesn't have all this pressure to, like, if I don't make this play, no one's going to make the play.
And when you're winning, injuries don't hurt as bad for some reason. You can find a way to get through them a little easier.
It's contagious, buddy. It's contagious.
So, Joe Stark, you made a comment about the 17-game schedule. I want to come back to that because that was something that broke today, I believe it was. Real quick, before we get into his question and move on to our other topics, alternatives to Clowney. If we don't sign Clowney, are we satisfied with what we have? Do we need that in the draft? Do we need somebody else via free agency? Or do we just not do anything and focus elsewhere? What's the goal? Let's go with you, Jay, and then Kevin, let me know what you think.
I would either draft one in the first round or sign another guy and draft one in the second round. I'd go for two more. I mean, you can never have enough linemen, offense or defense.
It's got to be draft. I mean, once you get to 26, if you don't try to make any moves, best available edge rusher, because now you take that flyer on Tack McKinley and allow the rookie to kind of get his sea legs, his NFL, his pro legs underneath him. But one of those guys is going to have to step up because while Myles Garrett's a beast and physically just a physical specimen, he can't take on 2 and 3 guys and get to the quarterback every single time. Yeah, that's also going to help plug up some gaps and everything. So he's doing more than just getting to the quarterback as Myles Garrett. But you got to allow him to get some one-on-one sometimes. You got to have an offensive line from the other team has to be game planning for someone else besides Myles Garrett.
You guys talking about draft, right?
No. Jadeveon Clowney.
Lacrosse.
Fatty got lost when
he's injured too much.
This is our show now, buddy.
Yeah,
Clowney hate
Fatty, you lose your seat. You move your feet, lose your seat.
Yeah, don't let him see your backup, bro.
Oh man, Fatty got lost. Fatty got lost,
buddy.
Jay's got your seat.
I'm just here.
Chris Span, Cheap Seats podcast, right? Chris Span.
That's my brother-in-law.
That's your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've been drinking too much.
Hey, he's Ginger too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, Ginger. He should come on Ginger's Talk Football. Chris.
He's got twin Gingers and another Ginger.
Oh man, gotta love Gingers. We're rare. I don't know. You guys are day walkers. That's what we call you. Kerrigan, Ryan Kerrigan, right?
Did he sign?
No,
I don't
think he's. I think he's kind of a second tier option as opposed to say Clowney or Alden Smith or
But a guy more apt to get guy for the right price when Clowney's going to be looking for more than what people are going to be willing to offer him.
Could be a decent option. Let's see. Joe Starkey asked, with the 17-game season, do we implement a second bye week in the future? What do you guys think?
That's interesting because.
Sorry, what was the question?
So they approved the 17 games season. Bartender, please. Sorry. Huh? If you guys want anything?
No, we're good.
The service is so great here.
Yes, it
Did
is.
she hear me say
Excellent.
I think so.
Okay.
But maybe not.
Okay. I didn't want to embarrass her, but I wanted to say it.
She turned away kind of quick,
Okay.
though. So.
All right.
We'll say it when she gets back.
Yes. But anyways, so they approved the 17-game season. The Browns get an extra game against the Cardinals. All right. And that reduces the preseason by 1 game, correct? Right?
Yes.
Yep. The AFC gets the home games first year, and then they alternate with the NFC. And the AFC team plays the same. Thank you. Similar record, same place in their respective division in the NFC. The opposite. It's not as complicated as it sounds. So many words. Anyways, we're playing the Cardinals, but with 17 games, do we implement a second bye week?
Not yet. Who was it? Tony Grossi I was listening to on the way here. The NFL's slick. They pushed for 18 games, knowing that they weren't going to get that. They could pull back and get 17. And then once they go to renegotiate this again and they show them how much more revenue they had, they're going to push for 18 again.
Yep.
And you're going to see 18 games, 2 preseason games, and that's when you're going to see 2 byes, I believe.
See, a lot of people were they kind of liked how there weren't any preseason games. Some people didn't because there was no were working out the kinks in the first couple of weeks, so that may have hurt a couple teams.
And season ticket holders got to pay for them.
Yeah, and when it comes, I know Jay's upset about that.
I don't
Jay's
want to
upset
pay for those
about that.
tickets. I can't even give them away half the time.
Well, now you'd be able to give them away, and you don't want to give them away, right?
I still do. Give them to kids.
Yeah, that's good of you, Jay.
And they
That's
don't
good
know
of
the
you.
difference between preseason starters and non-starters. So I give it to someone with
That's
little
true.
kids.
That's true. But I mean, some people were, they kind of liked the way the offseason went and just kind of getting into the year. So the NFL is going to keep trying to reduce preseason, add more real games to the season, like Jay just said, and like Grossi brought up. I could see it down the line. And that's going to be if the NFL pushes for 18 games or starts to even give a semblance of pushing for the 18 games again, that would be one of those NFLPA criteria to even come close to agreeing with that. You're going to have to give us 2 bye weeks if you want us to play 18 games.
Brad, we appreciate you tuning in. And, interview with Troy Hill. Got to check that out. Definitely going to Brad. All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Great show. Brad's a great guy. Thanks for tuning in, Brad. Just so you know, if you guys comment on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, we can see it. We can post it. We can interact with it. If you click the link, we post it in the comments. You can actually call in audio or video. Feel free to call in and talk to us. We want to talk to you. This is a Browns roundtable discussion, hence the Browns table. I'm here with Always Positive Jay, right to my left. It says I am that fat guy, but Fatty got lost at the bar. He left for a drink and never came back. And then
he might be in a closet tied up somewhere. Allegedly, I don't know where he went, but I got a seat now. It's all.
What's that? Wedding dresses. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Why are you looking at wedding dresses, dude?
If it's not, if it's not brown and orange, it doesn't matter. We have Kevin over here. Voice of the Land podcast by Big Play, right?
Yes.
Outstanding. And again, you guys can comment. We can address your comments. So let's move on. We have a couple other things to touch on before we go. We are live at Mike's Bar and Grill in Berea, Ohio. Awesome food. Awesome place to have a beer.
Yeah, I ate a burger, 2 pierogies, and a quesadilla. Yeah, I ate all that.
I had a bacon cheeseburger, and it was
that's what I got. It was
5
awesome.
out of 5 stars. Kevin, what'd you have?
I had the bourbon barbecue sauce on their wings here, and very, very good.
When do you guys had tater tots, right?
I had tater tots.
I saw the tater tots.
Everybody
and I was
wants
like, oh,
Kevin
man.
tater tots.
Those look like good tater tots.
You're not good at my tots.
Well, next time we're out together and I get tater tots, just make sure you order yourself some because you ain't getting any of mine.
All right. Kevin doesn't share food. So we've done some re-signings since the last time we had a Browns Table live show. We retained or re-signed Cody Parkey, Hollywood Higgins, Kadero Hodge, Malcolm Smith, JoJo Natson, and Elijah Lee, but we waived Trevon Young. Lots of kind of under the radar, but solid moves by the Browns. What are your guys' thoughts? Kevin, let's start with you.
My favorite one on that list is Hollywood Higgins for what he means to this team, and you can't second guess chemistry. Baker and Hollywood being on that second team, Baker's rookie year, he found that guy, that go-to guy that he can kind of go to on third down, and a guy that's going to make those plays for you. So even with Odell, coming back to the team, Rashard is just going to be that security blanket. When push comes to shove, third down, you need to pick it up, crucial play. Hollywood is going to be there, and it's almost like second nature. Play breaks down, Hollywood is going to be there for Baker. Baker's going to know where he's at. He can just throw it and know Hollywood's going to be in that spot.
Hollywood's heart is just unmatched.
Oh, lighting goes down.
There goes
See, that's
the
what
lighting.
happens when Patty comes back.
Comes in here and just breaks
Come in
things.
hot.
Party foul.
I come in hot.
You were too focused on wedding dresses, weren't you?
I know. I can't.
He's all
Cody
hot and
Parkey.
bothered from those wedding dresses.
I just saw Cody Parkey.
Yeah. Browns re-signed him, yeah.
It's a kicker. You
No.
find another kicker, right?
Yeah, because, on VTL, we say you can't trust a kicker. So,
Well, you never can,
No.
especially when it misses a 40-yarder and somebody alleges they can kick a 40-yarder. I will never allege that, though. I can kick like a 10-yarder.
I couldn't get it off the ground.
I'll go 30-35.
30-35.
For my
huh?
soccer days, I'll go 30-35.
Well,
I'm probably
I wanna-
going to trip.
Do you do the
fall.
barefoot?
No. I mean, I would, but, I've had a lot of fractures in my foot, so I'm not doing that. I'm not. I just turned the 30 corner, so, I'm going to start to be smarter, or try to be at least. I wasn't
Yeah.
I wasn't
It
smart
never-
before.
It never happens.
It doesn't.
Hey, it still doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Wait till you have kids. Still doesn't happen.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, after tonight, we've kind of solidified having 5, so.
Yeah, you're definitely having 5, and
Yeah.
I apologize for that because, well, no, you can say all you want
I got my own
to.
basketball team.
Well, that's true. You, as long as one's tall enough to play center.
And
If not, you can sign Andre Drummond.
we'll just go.
Wait a second. Hold on.
We'll
You
go
need to have
we'll go
5
Cavs.
kids.
Yeah. Have you not seen how to test for that? Do like the
Are
ring
you okay
test?
with this?
No, yeah, she's
All
the
right,
one
all
that
right.
does the test. She's the one that told me we're
I was
having
saying,
5 kids, and she's all about it.
Okay. But you don't have to give birth. Like, you got to check with her first about 5 kids.
Well, she was like, "We're having 5 kids, and you don't get a say." So,
See what happens. You get on here. You just derail.
Yeah.
We're talking Browns.
yeah, it's
now we're
Browns
talking
table.
kids,
Let's get back to the Browns.
wedding
All right.
dresses.
So,
All right.
the
Hollywood Higgins, awesome signing.
yes, the re-signings by the Browns. Which ones kind of stand out to you there?
I like Cody Parkey a lot, actually.
Of course you do. It's a kicker.
He's a kicker, man. That's my kicker.
No,
That's my
Hollywood.
guy.
Hollywood taking the money that he wanted. Yeah, he wanted to come back here. He didn't
Yeah.
even look other.
No.
He just wanted here.
Yeah,
And when him and Baker got on Twitter and said, "Hey, what do you want to do? Let's run it back. Let's run it back."
Dude, the whole entire offense is back. That's offensive coaches, offensive players. Every single player is back. It's unheard of. It's fantastic. I don't think it's ever happened in my lifetime that I even had a coach come back on the offense.
Well, especially with the Browns, but like this is precedent time that we're in, that we
Yeah.
have a decent offense.
You guys, we're about to embark on a season where we have the same systems in a row. Like,
right.
Well, I'm going off the rails now. So, what are you guys' expectations for the season then? Coming up, I mean, we got still draft, we got still everything else.
Mhm.
What are you guys' expectations? I mean, we got everybody coming back on
my
offense.
record? Season?
No, not season record, just your expectations. I mean,
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
It's Super Bowl.
Jay is going Super Bowl. Kev,
Getting to the Super Bowl,
yeah.
getting off that list of
No.
one of 4 teams that haven't made it, but
See, wait. I knew you were going to say that. Get into the Super Bowl. Every team that goes to the Super Bowl and loses, they always end up sucking afterwards, and it ends up messing up their self-esteem. Look at the Atlanta Falcons. They've not recovered from that game. You go there, you win it. Don't settle, Kevin.
I'm not settling for right now because we haven't seen the whole offseason. I'm not one of those guys that does the schedule game or
So
anything
no.
like that.
Okay, how about this?
But
if
this
would
team
would
has
you
those
be disappointed
expectations.
if they didn't make the playoffs?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Like completely
I mean,
disappointed. Would you be
devastated.
if they went
Anger.
let's see here. We have 17 games now. So
Yep.
if they went 16 and I gotta do rough math, 9, right? Nope.
No,
8.
16 and 9. That's like 25 games. How many games we
See,
played in the
this is
NFL
why
now?
I don't do that kind of math. So let's see here. 16.
You get a lot
so-
of shots.
Yeah, I did have a lot of shots tonight. I told Craig this was going to happen, but let's just say they go like 10-7. 10-7. There
10
we
and
go.
7. Okay.
10-7. They don't make the playoffs. Would you be okay with that?
No.
No.
Okay, so it's got to be there.
That's not good enough. Like, I understand where Jay's coming from because, I kind of called this out too, where people were like, well, we haven't been to the playoffs before anyways, so to be a year ahead and make the divisional round, like, that's good enough. But the way that they lost that game against the Chiefs, they should have won that game.
Yes.
They came out slow. They couldn't – while the Chiefs' offense is difficult to defend, you had them in a point where your offense was starting to make plays, starting to get in a rhythm. You were able to stop them just enough. Yes, I know Patrick Mahomes goes out of that game. The opportunity presented itself. You didn't get the job done. That's not good enough. Now you've gotten to that point. Now the expectation is, well, you better at least get to that point. But really, your expectations truly are not just talking the talk, walking the walk of Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah. And I get it, but I mean, they still, after this, they got a lot of decisions to make.
They do.
Now, do you think that they'll sign Baker before the season starts?
Yeah, I think it should be right around the same time they did it with Miles last year.
Right around
After
trading
the
camp?
draft.
Trading camp?
Yeah.
After the draft, after they get all their players signed, they're going to see an extension for Chubb, Ward, and Baker. You watch.
Craig?
He
No,
got
that's all
something
right.
to say here.
No, that's all right.
What if we miss the playoffs this year?
Dude, that's not going
I'm
to
sorry,
happen.
were those fighting words?
Yeah, like,
I don't think
What are
it'll
you
happen
doing to
either.
me
I'm
here?
just saying, like,
I'm here to have a good time. We don't,
I am Baker Mayfield's number one fan. I'm a Baker Mayfield apologist to my core. But do you think that's in the back of their minds?
If they don't sign this offseason, that'll solidify that it's in the back of their minds because they're willing to take that risk of, well, if he balls out, they win the Super Bowl or they go at least further than last year, and he wants more money than he's going to demand this offseason with higher values of revenue available. If they're willing to take that risk, they think that shows that that's in the back of their mind.
all right. I'm Jimmy
Look,
Haslam. I'm looking at it like this. If I'm Jimmy Haslam, this dude said, I'm going to come to Cleveland and I'm going to change Cleveland. It's 99. We have not had a quarterback do that. Tim Couch came kind of close. After that, it's just been garbage. Guys that are all right, you just couldn't come here. It's just, no one could do it.
Well,
this
Johnny
guy
said
came
it and
here
then turned into
and
Billy.
he did
So
it. He changed it around.
Oh,
He's
yeah. I'm not – hey, I think they should sign him now and be
Yeah.
done with it.
You just
I
beat
really
the
do.
Steelers in the
Baseball
playoffs.
contract.
Yeah, baseball, 12 years.
10 years, $30 million a year. 10 years, $300 million. Do it.
I mean, I'm down.
that's basically what the Chiefs did.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you can't – all right, I know they weren't all there in the front office to
Right.
draft Baker, but after what he did this year, especially the second half of the year, especially after they sat down to bye week and went, obviously this isn't working for you, so let's do this. And he went back to the Baker that he was the rookie year, and I saw it because the confidence was there.
The swag was back.
It wasn't even the swag. It was just no matter what happened, it was coming out of his hand, and either the receiver is going to catch it or it's going to hit him in the face mask because he had that much in him to do it. Sign him. Because guess what? We haven't had a quarterback like that in how long, like Jay said. In how long? Tim Couch. Tim Couch got us a little bit. And then, let's see here. What else? 06 was Derek Anderson. Oh, I love
Fluke
Derek
year.
Anderson.
Overrated.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted Brady.
Yeah, well, everybody wanted him.
Yeah.
No, I did not. Not a Notre Dame quarterback fans of any of them.
Yeah, those don't really.
But it
pan out
wasn't as
very
bad
well.
as when they drafted Brandon Whedon.
That's-
I almost blew a gasket on that day.
Well,
Yeah.
well, you knew it.
Still in the league. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I like Colt McCoy. He's
he's still in the league.
I gotta admit, I like Colt McCoy too.
was still in the league until a year ago.
He's
Yeah.
found a role. I knew Brandon Whedon was going to be bad when he got caught by the.
Dude, he was
Flash.
almost retired when we drafted the dude. He's like 40. Dude was getting a social security check. We're like, let's draft this guy out of Oklahoma. He should be all right. He can play pigeons. It's like, get the hell out of here.
Tell you what, picking 22 for the Browns is a bad omen.
Yeah.
It's a bad omen. That was Johnny. That was Whedon. That
No,
may have been
it's just-
Brady.
Bad GMing. When I'm at home and I can do a better job than those guys, it's like, the hell's
Hey.
going on? I'm literally picking better than them guys. Everybody else in Cleveland is doing
We
better.
talked about the other day, Honey Badger.
Yeah, honey,
we
don't
talked
even
about
get
it
me
the other
started on
day.
Honey Badger.
You sit there,
Pass
you
on
can
him
watch
5
what
times.
is
Pass
happening.
on.
Clay Matthews the third. Like 4 times.
Yeah.
You took Gerard Warren over LaDainian Tomlinson.
I have a question. Fatty, stay right where you're at.
Oh, you're bringing up something.
Kevin mentioned something. 22 is a curse in the draft in the first round. Here's the last question. Here's what we are going to end the show on.
All right.
The Browns are at 26. What is their strategy? Do they trade up? Do they trade down? Do they take the best player available? Do they stay put? What is the best strategy for the Browns draft this year? I'll see you guys later. Fatty's going to close the show out with Always Positive Jay and Kevin here from Voice of the Land podcast. We're at Mike's Bar and Grill in Berea, Ohio.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
This is so exciting, but I want to hear your guys' answers.
What?
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
I think they should trade up. Next year, or this year, or next year, you got a lot of people you got to sign. And first round picks cost a lot. You take this year's, next year's first, you move way up. You get that Parsons kid or something from Penn State. Now you got a linebacker that's possible all-pro. You're stout everywhere against this. And you don't have to pay a first-round pick next year. You put that money towards Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, and Baker.
See, the fans could have written movie draft day.
And the
Because
draft's in Cleveland.
yeah, the draft is in Cleveland.
Make a splash.
A lot of fans could have helped write the movie draft day because we've put those scenarios, those big time scenarios out there as much as we could. Yeah, it'd be great to see them trade up to get one of those top guys. What I think their strategy will be and should be, just don't overthink it. Stay at 26, get best player available. That's what the good teams do. They find depth and they find that next guy to just rotate in. When the Steelers drafted Cam Hayward out of Ohio State, and they do that all the time. They get the guys from Ohio State or guys like Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
Lower end in the first round, maybe takes a year. They make some impact plays. Not all the pressure's on them because you've built enough depth, and the Browns are trying to do that this offseason. It's just that next guy that can come in and be that impactful player because the culture's already set. The veterans are bringing the rookies up the right way. And it just flows naturally, and that's why the good teams are in contention every single year, and the bad teams are at the top of the draft every year. I want to be a team that's around like at the 26 or lower mark every year.
Yeah.
I want to have that luxury of who did everybody else pass on? All these quarterbacks that were taken.
Oh, yeah.
This guy fell to us? Card now. Take them. Yeah. Let's go, and we'll just move on to the next one.
And what they did in free agent set what you want up perfectly. They could take any position. They could draft wide receiver if they really wanted to.
Exactly.
They could take whatever they want because they have no holes.
Right.
Our Browns have no holes.
All right.
So the mic. Come on.
All right. Jay's out. All right. So, Kevin, what I think, I'm with you. Yeah. I think they just they can do whatever they want with it.
They could.
They really can. Trading up, unless they have the guy that they want within the 3 to 4 picks around them, I don't think you're going up to 6 or 8 or 9 to get somebody. They're going to be smart about it because they don't want to give up that first round pick next year. Because I understand what you're saying, Jay, because you're going to have to pay that money. But guess what? That first round pick gives a 50-year option. So they're going to get somebody that they want, that they think is going to fit their system and do what they need to do. And I honestly think that it is going to be somebody that we look at it and go, shit, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, crap.
And I really do. Whether it be a tight end again or whether it be an offensive lineman, they are going to do the value that they need to do because they've proven it right now that they are not going to overpay or overreach for somebody that they don't want to overreach for.
Right.
And guess what? This is where we're at. So Craig's coming back in to sit down. But this is where we're at. I really do think that that's going to happen. I think they're going to pick who they think is the best available at that pick. And if that person is not there, trade down a little bit, add an extra asset, and get the guy that you want. Because I have a feeling that the guy they want is going to go later in the first round, early second round.
So you're trade down. Jay was trade up.
Stay put.
So here's my question. The draft doesn't happen. Yeah. We're pretty satisfied with free agency, right?
Yeah, of course.
We can win now.
Yeah.
Right.
Why not go get our most pressing need and trade up if we don't need the draft this year to win now, we don't need it next year.
Okay,
Why not go get the best edge in the draft all in?
Okay, I hear what you're saying, but that gives up capital to go do that. Guess what? They got to give up a first rounder next year when they still have questions at wide receiver still because Jarvis is getting paid 14, Landers getting paid 60. There's $30 million wrapped up in wide receiver that they could draft next year in the first round. You know what I'm saying? There's other developments there's there. Yes, I would love to see them make a huge splash and go up and get it. It's not going to happen with this team because they've proven they're not going to do that unless it's needed.
And I don't disagree. And
because,
it's not
hold on, because we actually had this conversation last round's table that their biggest need was defensive end. I thought they were going to go huge for a defensive end. Did they overpay for a defensive end? No, they brought in a safety. I was proven wrong. They actually held pat of what they wanted to pay for it. They brought in who they wanted to bring in. And they're doing it the right way for one. Like, we can say whatever we want. This front office has turned heads for everybody. And what they're going to do in the draft is what they want to do in the draft. It's not going to be dictated by the Steelers. It's not going to be dictated by everybody else. If that person is there, they're going to draft that person. But they're not going to overreach for that person. They have a board. They have a list that they want, and they're going to go after it. Because, I mean, look at Harrison Bryant. Did they need a tight end? No. But guess what? He was a top tight end of the draft, and they got him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you take that? They're drafting for not need, but for what they think is the best person available. And for once, we get that with this front office.
They want as many good players as they can get.
So, last question, because presumably we're taking best player available,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is there one transcendent talent in this draft that would be worth trading up for?
There is a handful, I believe. And the reason why I say that is because, like, the quarterbacks are going to go. I mean, there's already been moves. The quarterbacks are going to go bump, all the way off of the top 10. I mean, I have a feeling there's going to be 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 like that.
And we don't need a tight end. It's not like Kyle Pitts.
No,
who may be regarded as the top positional
but
player in the draft.
I do have a feeling that if they have that end tackle corner that they see right there on the defenses, I'm not saying they have to. I have a feeling they will go defense the first pick. But after that first pick, it's a crapshoot because they can do whatever they want after that because guess what? The draft comes to them at that point. And if I was trading up, if I wanted to trade up, if I was the Cleveland Browns, I would not go above 15. The reason why, you're going to give up too much capital to get above 15, all right? And if you stay at 16 to, let's just say 16 to 20, you barely give up anything to move up that much. You give up your first rounder. And guess what? You still get a top 10 talent because 5 quarterbacks are coming off the top 10.
Yeah, and they're not all, like, at least overall on a draft board, they're not all top 10.
No.
I mean,
so this draft is weird because we got 5 quarterbacks that are worth going into top 10, and I believe so. And that is going to push talent down, and you're going to steal a talent at 26. You really are. If you think about it, you're going to steal somebody at 26 going, how did we get this guy? Like, I mean, it was like Grant Delpit last year. Right. I was expecting to get Grant Delpit in the second round, but when it was there, I was like, holy crap, we got Grant Delpit? All right.
Yeah, it's those guys that you don't expect to be there for you, and especially when you're drafting later on. It's something we got to get used to, and hopefully we can get used to consistently throughout the years. But it's those guys you don't expect to be there for you that are probably 10 picks higher value. That you just take that card up to the podium and have the commissioner announce it because
trade out.
It's the best player. It's a position we feel like we can still improve on. And get them in here and get them in the culture and just keep the train rolling where we actually want to take it.
It's 9 ways to feed a cat, but in Barry we trust. Whatever he does.
Cats have 9 lives too.
I know. I didn't want to be too graphic. I didn't want to offend anybody, but there's 9 ways to feed a cat. Whatever Barry does,
it seems like for once we have an adult in the room. And that's what it is. Like, I'm being dead serious.
I know that's what's so funny about it is that you're serious.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, I love it. We have somebody sitting there going, well, I really want 18 million. Well, guess what? You're not getting it. You're going to get 15. And if you don't want it, there's the door.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll find someone else that's going to, it's going to take it or take even less and still give us enough production on the field. I mean, Fatty, you said that this team is, turning heads. This front office is turning heads. They're turning heads about themselves too.
Yeah.
Because I know that we don't want to spend too much. We didn't want to spend too much time on Hugh and that front office, but there's guys part of that regime that are still here. And we don't talk about how much accountability they have to take for what happened back then.
Well, a lot of those guys are still rookies because the turnover that we've had has been kind of
but
exponential.
They've been given an opportunity to right wrongs. They've done that, and they've taken it to another level. And this team is ready to compete with the big boys. It's just piece here, piece there. Get it right. Get him to Kevin Stefanski and his coaching staff, and let's see where we go in 2021.
What's awesome about Berea, you can have plan A, B, and C. And if he does D, you're like, whatever. It's probably better than mine. You actually believe his plan is better than the past. You're like, no.
So if you did hear Jay, if you have plan A, B, and C, and Barry goes D, you're like, oh, okay, well that kind of works too.
Yeah,
and that's what's happened so far with this team. It really is. So we're
up against the clock.
I know we are.
Fatty, why don't you take us out here?
All right. So we are the Browns table. I am that fat guy. We got Craig Fountain here as the host. Kevan Arnold from the Voice of the Land from Big Play. Catch him on Sunday nights at 7-ish.
7 p.m. We are off this week for the Easter holiday, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. Every Sunday night, 7 o'clock at VTL_pod is where you can find the show, or on Facebook.
And if you comment in on that show and say Fatty sent you, he'll answer you, I think. Maybe. It all depends on what kind of mood he's in.
Yeah.
Don't forget to find Fatty at Illegal Ham.
Yeah.
Illegal Ham to the pod.
Or Craig at
Face
Ginger's.
Podcast. Yeah. At Ginger's Talk Football. On Twitter, we're at Ginger's, at official Ginger's. Ginger's Talk Football Podcast. So many words. So many words.
All right, we got to get out of here. It's too late.
We got to go.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much. Boys, we're out. See you.
Bye.